Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
Woo! I'm doing good.
Yeah, doing all right.
I'm excited to talk about more Trigun, baby.
I'm doing good too. Once we get into the Trigun stuff, I'll share some thoughts on it. Find it a little hard to jump into Trigun. Just in general, I'm having some issues getting hooked on it.
Well, it's part of the fun of the Anime Banter podcast, Mike. That's we Turtle and I have seen the old Trigun. You have not, and it's refreshing to hear a variety of perspectives.
This is so far at least, it's a very different show. So it's Trigun, but it's a different flavor of Trigun as well. So
Yeah,
it's hard to, as we go in, 2 more episodes in from last episode of ours, it's a little different show.
I'm noticing some pretty extreme differences.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm having issues getting into it just because I don't have the love of the original Trigun, or if it's just the episodes are a little slow to start and a little all over the place.
I think we got to get a little bit farther in because, episode 3 and 4, they're still kind of like introducing characters and things. They're still kind of building.
Yeah.
I feel like the next couple episodes hopefully are going to, take off a little bit and start to, to reel me in.
I feel like we had, at least I've had a lot of the same complaints when it came to Chainsaw Man. Like, first 4 episodes were a little slow. Like, we didn't really get into it until, like, episode 4, really. It's just hard to, like, fathom the fact that, okay, it's hard to get into, like, and we're already a third of the way done with your season.
Yeah.
Personally, it's like, do I want to watch Trigun, or do I want to play Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion and read more Mistborn? I actually finished Crisis Core Reunion just the other day.
How was that? Because I've never played that game.
I've also never played.
I never played the OG. So I was coming in with brand new eyes. It was a good 7.5 out of 10 game.
Okay.
Some of the voice acting was bland. Like, I left the volume on my TV to start it, and then I just got tired of hearing Zach talk.
That's not good.
And like every time you entered combat, it's like combat mode activated, and then you would finish combat, and it's like combat resolved. And it's like, all right, I'm tired of hearing that every 2 seconds from either doing missions or random battles. So I end up muting my TV and listening to podcasts in the background.
There you go. Yeah, I'm a big Final Fantasy VII fan, and I really enjoyed the remake as well, and I'm excited for part 2. But I've not really played any of the spin-off games or branching world building games, so I'll have to pick that up at some point just to play it.
Yeah, I don't find Zach to be an interesting character. I guess they didn't really do a good job in the original 7, like fleshing him out, really.
Yeah.
But like I didn't care to know anything about him.
And it was cool seeing the Zack and Cloud and Sephiroth and Aerith, how they all came to be in this story. So that was really cool to get some more background information. Because Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time, but I've never played any of the side stuff.
Yeah, I'm a real big fan of 7, like I said. I'll have to give the other games a shot at some point.
Yeah, I just don't understand when there are people that you go online. Just don't go online and read comments on anything. Like you see a tweet or you go to Reddit or whatever. Just don't read the comments. Do yourself a favor. But people say things like, "Oh man, Zach's my favorite Final Fantasy VII character," and I'm like, you're kidding me, right? There's a whole game, a legendary game. Some people, it's their favorite game of all time, especially Final Fantasy game. And you're gonna pick Zach, like the guy who had almost nothing to do in the first game.
Maybe
That's my favorite guy.
Maybe they only ever played Crisis Core and don't realize the rest of the Final Fantasy VII.
If you skipped 7 and went straight to Crisis Core, I don't have any words for that.
maybe they thought it was like a Kingdom Hearts thing where it's like, oh, I need to play the prequel before I could play the real game.
Well, same director.
I don't even want to talk about the Kingdom Hearts thing that is.
Nomura directed both of them.
I have issues with Kingdom Hearts.
He had to bring his convolutedness of Kingdom Hearts into the Final Fantasy VII world and just make it as complicated as possible with the remake and everything.
I'm guessing we'll get a Dirge of Cerberus remake or remaster at some point, seeing that we got Crisis Core, and they're going to need something to fill the gap between Part 2 and Part 3.
That's a possibility, actually, because that's, a PS2 game, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And that was another game I never played.
I never played that either. So
I've heard it's not that bad, actually. It's just kind of like limited by what the PS2 can do.
I don't know. A remake of that might be kind of cool.
I will say Crisis Core looked fantastic. Like, they didn't do the full ground up remake like they did with 7, but they remastered the graphics using Unreal, and it looks really pretty.
Nice.
I guess we're not here to discuss Final Fantasy VII all day, right?
No, we could go on and on.
I could.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes that'll show up on RPG Treasure Trove, Turtle.
Hey, you know what? I would love to have you as a guest there, Mike, and we can play through 7. I'm all for that.
Shall we jump into Trigun Stampede?
Let's hit it.
Let's go.
Today, we are talking about episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3, Bright Lights Shine Through the Darkness. So the episode begins with a radio station talking about a sandstorm. Thought it was like a cool little call out, but like didn't really provide much in terms of the episode. And like it seems like every couple episodes we're getting these like the talk radio, like, oh, this planet sucks, I wish we all died. Oh, there's a sandstorm out there, be careful. Like,
I love how morbid this planet is. It's just like, oh, we're stuck on this desert rock. It really sucks here. Let's play a song.
It's like, let's play the opening credits to make you feel a little happy.
I mean, the guy on the radio does mention, like, Vash, and he was seen, and there were 2 other people with him, and they're, questionable people. Keep your eyes out for them. So, like, Meryl and Meryl's freaking out a little bit, like, oh, we're wanted too. So I thought that was kind of funny, but
yeah, Roberto took it kind of well, I guess, but he just kind of seems like maybe like a jaded old man anyway. So he's just like nothing surprises him.
I think he said something to the effect like, I hope the office doesn't find out or we're going to lose our jobs.
Yeah, he does.
I feel like we all hit that point in life where we all just become jaded with work.
Feels that way.
I think that's true.
You get the young new employee fresh out of college or school or whatever, and they're like, oh boy, can't wait to do a great job and change the world. And then there's the person that's been working there for 10 years. I haven't had coffee yet. Shut the fuck up. This place sucks. Just give me my paycheck.
And then, I mean, we're all in our 30s. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to retire.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one.
Unfortunately, I got to do this for another 40 years probably, so it's whatever.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are retiring anytime soon.
Nope.
No, unfortunately.
And neither's Roberto.
No. Probably dying out in the wasteland before retirement.
I was thinking the same thing.
So we learned that the bombs are the work of E.G. Bomber, and Vash believes that they can capture them.
Vash is a very positive person. He believes he can do anything. And I believe in him.
I love Vash's positivity. It's very infectious. Vash is like, oh, whoever's doing this is probably close to home. Like, we could probably see him from here. And we see a man up on the rocks, and Vash loads a bullet in the gun and shoots and misses Bomber. And they start chasing after him, and then landmines start going off. And E.G. Bomber's laughing. He's like, ha ha ha, yeah, there's mine too. And he's like, it's not E.G. Bomber anymore. It's E.G. Mine. And I loved how his vehicle looked like a landmine.
Yeah. First when he said E.G. Mine, I was like, wait, did he just say mime? Like, is it? But he's talking. There's no way he said mime, right? But I thought the name was so dumb that I just like EG Bomber is now EG Mine, and I'm like, was I supposed to get hyped about this? Like, I just learned his name in the first place, so why does it matter that it changed? Like, I don't care.
It's also, when you said mime, I'm like, Mr. Mime, Mr. Mime, Mr. Mime.
Yeah, this guy's kind of strange. I don't know what else to say about him.
So is
He's
every
weird.
other character we've met.
He's got a weird name. He's a weird guy. My only comment on this guy is I'm pretty sure I don't know the actor's name, but I think it's the voice actor for Master Roshi in Dragon Ball Z.
Maybe.
I think it's him. I think he voices Buggy from One Piece in English. Yeah, I think it's the same guy. That's all I have to say about this guy, really.
I mean, I believe you. Yeah, I just have not verified that. Maybe I will.
I'll say I could try to Google it while we continue.
To the IMDb.
I like Anime News Network. I go over there.
I've not been to that site in a long time, actually.
Yeah, I go there consistently, and they're pretty good at updating like the English voice actor section. IMDb, at least they used to be really bad at updating anime properly, and I feel like they've probably gotten better with the explosion of how popular anime is.
That's true.
Vash chases after Mine, and I know his name is Mine, but I just want to keep calling him Bomber because Bomber sounds cooler.
Yeah, I think he messed up his name.
Like, he was so excited. He's like, yeah, it's better. And like, he seemed so excited that he changed his name. It's like, dude, your first name was way better.
I think we should just call him Bomber from here on.
I sort of was thinking the same.
By the way, he is Roshi.
I was right.
Mike McFarlane.
Ah, there we go.
It would have been easier to spot him if he had a bloody nose. So Vash tries to chase after Bomber, and Meryl tries to chase Vash and like wants to help Vash, and Roberto's like, hey, you got caught up with Vash real quick. And then Roberto realizes why Vash is called the Humanoid Typhoon. And then we see the fact that Roberto and Meryl have bombs on them. And they're like, well, shit, what are we going to do? Roberto's ready to just like, well, guess I'm signing off.
He surrenders so fast.
Yeah. It's like, oh, guess I'm going to go drink some cheap booze and die.
Better stay away from me. I'm going to blow up soon.
I feel like when you reach a certain age on this planet, we haven't seen too many like old people, right?
Besides Father Nebraska.
Besides Nebraska, yeah. And we haven't seen too many old people. And I have a funny feeling that everyone, especially as old as he is, are just prepared to die any day.
I feel like it comes with the territory.
I mean, we're stuck on this desert rock, and there's nothing left to live for. Might as well play a song.
While Roberto's talking about it being suicide, Meryl gets the brilliant, just says suicide, and like has a brilliant idea. So Vash catches up with Bomber, and he's like, stop, like, you don't need to kill us. You don't need to steal. You don't need to kill. And like, I love Bomber's line of, I'm not killing for a chance to steal. I'm stealing for a chance to kill.
He's crazy, man.
Yeah, just like absolutely out of his mind. Except I'm kind of surprised he was not willing to blow himself up.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd. It's like, dude, you're all like, I want to kill. But I guess he's like, yo, I don't want to kill myself. Like, I want to kill you, and then I want to kill more people with my mines and my bombs.
I feel like anyone who works with explosives on a regular basis is probably just prepared for that day that they just explode.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a regular basis, I would assume that they would expect, there could be a day where something goes wrong and I might just blow up.
Yeah. I really think a lot of people work with explosives just expect it.
So Vash forces Bomber to crash, and they start getting into a tussle. And Bomber's about to kill Vash when Roberto calls him Bomber for real in the show, and E.G. Mine is not happy. He's like, my name is E.G. Mine. And Roberto ducks, and Meryl starts charging him and takes a picture of him, and the flash startles Bomber.
Yeah, like blinds him temporarily.
Yeah, it's a really clever idea, I think.
Yeah, it's not a bad tactic. All they had to do was throw him off his game for like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? Yeah, they didn't have to permanently blind him. You just needed to get him to flinch so he can run in.
And I like how they both start grabbing a hold of Bomber, And then Vash holds on to him. He's like, and they're pretty much like, yeah, you can detonate us, but if you do, you're going to, like, tell us how to deactivate it. And he says, the red button on the back. Of course it's a red button. And this was an overall great idea from Meryl.
Yeah, glad the side characters are doing stuff. I don't want Vash to solve all their problems, so it's nice to see other characters get things done.
I guess that she learned that from being at the top of her class.
So all the bombs deactivate, everyone calms down, and Nebraska just starts charging with his rocket launcher, where he's like, in the previous episode, he's like, I only have one bullet for this thing. And now he's like, just popping rockets like they're candy.
That's a good point. Speaking of that, same with Vash. Like, Vash is like, yeah, I can't afford bullets. I'd rather get a box of donuts. In this episode alone, you know, we watch him load like 8 rounds into his gun a little later, and I'm like, where'd you get those bullets from, dude?
It's like, oh, you know, just the back pocket. Forgot I had him back there.
For emergencies only.
But, you know, little plot hole. But, so Nebraska wants revenge for the death of Govsef, and Vash steps in E.G. Mine and tells Nebraska, like, yo, stop. It's not worth it. Revenge is not going to do anything. And Nebraska is not happy. He's like, whose side are you on? Then Vash hears a piano starting to play and starts freaking out. And at that point, Nebraska just shoots and completely whiffs on E.G. Mine. And I'm like, you have a big-ass rocket launcher. How do you miss? Just aim at the ground.
Yeah, this is like video game logic when you got the rocket launcher. You're aiming at walls, you're aiming at ground. You don't aim for the person.
Do we know if he's actually ever shot it before? Yeah, we'd have a training montage that showed him like firing a few of these for target practice. I mean, if I've never fired one of those before, I'd probably miss too.
That's true.
You know,
maybe he thought he had Gallahorn equipped.
Must have been the homing rockets, right?
Exactly.
I mean, he did fire one in the last episode against Vash.
Oh, did he fire one?
Yeah, and he missed.
He hit the wall. So his track record is 0 for 2.
Hitting people, 0 for 2. Hitting walls, 2 for 2.
Well, he's not going to get too many more chances to try.
Yeah. So Vash is freaking out, telling everyone, run, get the hell out of here, like, go, like...
Leave town.
Yep. And we're like, everyone's like, what's going... Like, it seems like everyone else is like, what? Like, Meryl and Roberto, like, what? Like, dude, no, like, it's fine. And he's like, he gets that dead serious look on his face, like, get the hell out. And we then see E.G. Mine running up to the door, and he's like, Master, oh, I'm so glad you made it. And he enters the bar, and then the camera goes to the outside of the bar, and all of a sudden we see blood splatter and his arms landing on the door. And at this point, we don't know how the hell his arms end up there. It's like, did he somehow use, like, the piano to cut off his arms? Or, like, does this guy have some, like, sound abilities to, like, oh, I'm going to play the piano and just blow your arms off?
Lethal piano playing.
Maybe he's a sound ninja from Naruto.
Oh, that may be.
I was also confused, but it was a good visual.
I will say everything before Knives in this episode I thought was slow moving. And then the Knives stuff took this episode from a 5 to a 10 for me.
Yeah, it's really weird seeing Knives so prevalent so early in the series after you've watched the original.
Yeah.
It's also weird how much focus they're putting on the plants and like what Knives' goal is to like collect these plants. It's very bizarre to see. I welcome it though, because if I wanted an exact copy of the original anime, why do it?
Yeah, because the original exists. You can watch that anytime.
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering myself like what his deal is and what his plan is. He's making a really big garden, and he needs all the plants.
Oh, it's funny you mention that, because he said the plants belong to him. Rather, both him and Vash, whenever Vash finds Knives and asks him to stop and, like, why is he doing this?
They have a real heart-to-heart.
And Knives wonders whose side Vash is on.
Yeah, that's a real common theme for this particular episode is, whose side are you on?
I still find it like we don't know enough about Knives yet, but it's like in the when they were younger, he crashed the ship and he said Vash was his accomplice. And here we're saying the plants belong to you and I, Vash. Like, are you with me or are you with the rest of the people on this world? Like, it's like, what do you mean? Whose side are you on? Like, clearly you're the bad guy here in this. From what we've seen, like, why would Vash pick your side?
Yeah, not Knives is really seeming like a genocider. You know what I mean? I think he just wants everyone dead. He's collecting the plants. People can't live without the plants. I think he just wants everyone on this planet dead except for him and Vash.
As far as like, story beats go in that, I think the best bad guys are the ones who think that they're the good guys. They're the most interesting ones for me to try to follow along. Be like, what's your idea? What's your purpose? What's your plan? And Knives has a goal. We don't know what it is yet, but he wants and needs the plants, but he has a goal. And it seems like he'll do whatever he has to get to his goal. And that's kind of scary because he has some crazy powers.
It feels like he just thinks he's better than everyone else.
Yes, very much so.
And if you see what he can do, he's kind of right.
Hey, I won't argue with him.
So Vash tries to shoot Knives, and Knives touches Vash's gun, and the gun starts smoking, and like we start seeing these glowy lines on the gun, and then we see a young version of Vash, and Knives is like, "Well, see you later. Guess you haven't learned your gate yet." And it's like, what the hell is a gate?
That's
like,
what I wanted to know too.
It's like, I mean, I know what a gate is in the yard when it comes to a fence, but like, I don't think we're talking about yard work here.
Oh, we are. He needs the gate for his garden.
His plants, the garden, yeah.
Knives is like, yeah, looks like you haven't learned to control it yet. That's a shame. Well, see you later. And then we see Nebraska trying to find Knives. You poor fool.
Yeah.
Knives is like, he's walking up the steps. He's looking every which way. He hears a noise behind him. He turns. Nothing's there. Hears a noise to the right. He turns. Nothing's there. He keeps hearing noises, and he's looking every which way, and we never see anything. And then, all of a sudden, Knives shows up and cuts his arm off. And it's like, dude, Knives, what is your deal with cutting people's arms off?
He hates arms.
He thinks, arms are known for holding knives, and his name is Knives, and he doesn't want to be held, so he just cuts all arms off.
Does he need 1,000,000 arms to go with his 1,000,000 knives?
It kills me that his name is Millions Knives. And his power is that he has 1,000,000 knives. Like, you have to be kidding me.
That's a brilliant name. It's perfect.
It's very literal.
Yeah, I guess so.
I will say,
can't wait till Vash the Stampede summons a bunch of animals to stampede or something. Like,
all of a sudden, it's the Lion King.
It's the Lion King.
Yeah, Mufasa.
I did really like the visuals in the background where we see all the knives form in the background before they chop off Nebraska's arm.
Yeah, I think the CG for Knives and his knives look really good.
Yeah, the kudos to the studio for using like the 3D properly. There's a lot of depth, and the knives looked fine here, but the scene a little later, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, just for a little bit. When he chops up that like the town, pretty much.
Yeah,
right? It looked so good.
That was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And not to skip ahead, but man, that was
so damn cool.
It was so cool.
Really great visuals for that.
I will say this entire episode did a great job, not to jump too far ahead. This entire episode did a great job showing why Vash is so afraid of knives.
Yeah.
He can't stop them.
No. I feel like if they didn't do all of this stuff and some of the stuff we're about to talk about, we'd all be like, okay, well, why is Vash so afraid? Like, he doesn't seem that powerful. And, like, he does this stuff without thinking. Like, he dismembers his own follower. He is very stealthy and taken out Nebraska. And as we're about to see, he takes 2 women out without thinking.
Yeah, like no remorse.
Yeah, he's pretty scary. Don't want to meet him in a back alley.
So we see Rosa and two nameless women trying to stop Knives at the top of the steps. And you know when you have an unnamed character against a villain, that unnamed character is going to die rather quickly.
Yep, and they did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go into their deaths, an old man is lifted by a robot and tells Rosa, "You don't have a chance. Just give up." And the old man is with a young girl that looks like the young version of Vash and the young version of Knives. And I finished this episode. I watched it a second time, and they never said who these characters are. We don't know who the robot is. We don't know who the old man is besides being called Doctor. We
Doctor,
don't know,
yeah.
and we don't know anything about this young girl. I wish this show did a better job introducing the characters.
Oh, they're just building suspense.
I mean, it's something we'll touch on in episode 4 as well.
Here's some people. We may or may not see them again.
Here's some people. We're going to make the entire episode about these people, but we won't tell you their name until the end of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's something again that is it revealed right away in the manga who they are? Because these characters I don't recognize from the original animation from back in the 90s or early 2000s.
I was thinking the same actually. I don't remember it as well as you, Turtle, but I also was like, I don't know if these people were in that one.
Yeah, I didn't recognize them, so I'm not sure who they are, but the episode doesn't really tell you. So I'm gonna assume we'll see them again because they seem to be working for Knives, and being that Knives has been introduced as the villain, I'm almost certain that we will meet them. But yeah, they just, here's some characters, there they go. Wonder who they are.
And was that young girl like a clone of Knives? Because I mean, she looked so similar to him when Knives was young.
Absolutely, that's a good question.
So, anyways, Knives says he'll take care of the woman or the women, and he'll steal the sick plant. He tells the old man, "You take care of the healthy plant." And Knives kills the first woman very quickly. Just bang. He sends an arm of Knives out, kills her real quick. It's like, oh, that was fast. And then he kills the second woman in one of the most brutal waves I've ever seen. And I was just shocked and amazed at the same time at the visuals of it. He sent out like 5, 6, 7, 8 arms of Knives and enveloped the woman and just put them all together and just splattered her. I'm like, oh. And you see Rosa trying to hold on to her and grab her and get her out of there, and when she goes smush, all that's left is the arm.
Once again, Knives in the arms.
He doesn't like arms.
He hates these arms.
But yeah, this version of Trigun is definitely way more brutal than the original. I think.
I would definitely say it's a little bit more visual with the brutality. I think there's definitely some brutality in the original show, but it's less shown and a little bit more implied.
Okay, yeah.
Where this is more, hey, here's Knives chopping up these women.
Which is something you don't see that often in shows in general. Violence against women and children necessarily. You're like, wow, they really brought it.
Yeah.
And we got violence against both of them this episode.
Yeah.
And it definitely it hits hard that Knives does not care about anybody.
Yep.
And as you alluded to earlier, Sean, whenever Knives just sends out the wave after wave after wave of knives above him, and he just slices through that rock that like it's nothing. It's just like, okay, this dude's powers are insane, and the visuals are incredible.
I was hypnotized by the spinning blades.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said kudos to the animation studio. You can tell they put a lot of effort into that scene because it had the impact they meant it to have.
Studio Orange. Good job, guys.
So the old man steals the sick or Knives steals the sick plant. The robot with the old man steals the healthy plant. The town's starting to blow up, and Roberto and Meryl survive. And Roberto tells her, well, I guess you will be a good journalist because dumb luck is a necessity when it comes to being a journalist. Everything starts to calm down. The villains leave. Vash goes to Rosa saying, hey, like, I will get the plants back. Don't worry. Like, I will solve this. I can do it. Like, just stay calm. It will all be okay. And Rosa is having none of it. Like, we saw from these first 3 episodes, we have seen a wide range of emotion from Rosa when it comes to Vash. She was excited as all hell to see him in episode 1 when he first showed up to Janora's Rock. Episode 2, she was quick to betray him for the money and then help Vash out to save Govseth. And now she's like, get the fuck out of here. Don't ever come back. If it wasn't for you, we would never be attacked.
It was really brutal to do that to Vash, but at the same time, she really lost everything. And so, can you blame her for scapegoating someone? It was all beyond her control. Blaming Vash gave her some feeling of control.
Yep.
Yeah.
It felt very much like a hospital. Family member dies. You want to blame the doctors and the nurses for not doing enough, and they did everything they could, but you're just lashing out because you can't.
You have nowhere else to direct your rage.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, she loses her town. She lost 2 of her friends. Knives just chopped them up basically in front of her. Her kid is, alive, but barely.
Maimed.
He's maimed. It looked like he was missing an arm. So she's had enough. There's nothing left. So
another arm fallen victim.
Man,
Knives.
I never really paid attention to that. He really does not like arms, does he?
I wonder if Vash lost his arm to Knives.
Oh my gosh. That would explain so much.
I was going to say, I'm sure Vash could get the kid a robot arm.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to get a robot arm origin episode.
I'm down for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad.
So Vash is leaving the city, and Meryl asks him, how can you smile after all of this? And Vash tells her he doesn't deserve to cry when all this bad stuff is his fault.
Vash has a lot of positivity in both shows, and he truly just wants the best for everybody. And it seems like a lot of crap is just constantly being hurled at him, and he does the best that he can, but he just sometimes gets overwhelmed. And this seems like is one of those cases where he did the best that he could, but he couldn't stop Knives because of his knives. And the town is destroyed. And, I think he definitely feels like it's his fault, but there's really nothing else that he can do at this point. And, Rosa basically said, get out and don't come back if you know what's good for you. So, what else is he going to do but leave them in peace?
Healthy dose of self-loathing there.
He internalizes all that, puts on a smile to, push on.
It still hasn't said love and peace.
Not yet.
Better happen.
Maybe next episode.
Meryl asks Vash where he's going as he walks off to over the horizon, and Vash says he knows where he'll find Knives, and it's as far east as you can go, in the 3rd city, July.
That's a couple months out.
So that concludes episode 3. Turtle and Sean, do you have anything that you want to discuss on how this episode compares to the original Trigun?
This episode did not really happen.
No. No,
Trigun.
not at all. This is a very original thing for Stampede. They introduced the plants way early in this show. They introduced Knives way early in this show. Knives seems a whole lot crazier with superpowers in this show. So, I really have nothing to compare it to here.
So with that, we shall jump into episode 4. Hungry!
Woo!
The show episode begins with 3 bandits cooking a worm over a fire. And they're all eating. And the second bandit says he dreams that he could eat something made from plants one day. And the third says he wishes he was king. And they all start laughing.
These guys are pretty wacky. I like them already.
Then they stop and notice something off in the horizon walking towards them. and we see it's a man in a suit carrying a cross, and they're like, "Oh, he's already carrying his tombstone. That's lucky for him."
That's a good line.
It is.
Later in the episode, we learn that this man is named Nicholas D. Wolfwood, and his voice actor also voices Todoroki in My Hero Academia.
A very good voice actor and a very good character.
Yeah, I like it.
So we see Meryl and Roberto were able to catch up to Vash after he left Genoa Rock. Vash is in the back seat of the car sleeping, and Roberto sees a sandwich. He's like, "Well, it was Vash's, but he hasn't touched it for a while, so dibs." And Meryl's like, "How can you eat that? That's his." And Roberto's like, "I don't care. I'm hungry. Like, he doesn't want it. I do. It's mine now." And then over the radio, we hear that the two of them now also have bounties on their head because they're working with Vash.
Humanoid typhoon. That's what happens.
Yeah, everyone's swept up, right?
Just a matter of time. So they're driving, and Meryl and Roberto are getting into it as usual. And Roberto just gasps. And Meryl's like, "Oh no!" And she hits Nicholas with the car. And I just started laughing because they get out of the car, and Meryl's like, "Are you okay?" And like, you could clearly see he is not okay. Like, he's knocked out, he's bloody, he's bruised and battered. It's like, "You're okay, right?"
Poor Nicholas.
So they drive to a gas station looking for help, and they get inside, and they're like, "Help, help, help." And we see the two people inside are dead. And she asks if this level of violence could it be, and she just sort of trails off. And I thought it was Roberto, but maybe it was Nicholas. But one of them were like, "Who could it be? Who?" But we never really get an answer. So it's like, does Meryl think this is Knives? Has Meryl heard through the grapevine that there's some other crazy guy out there? Like, we never really know. We don't really know who Meryl was talking about in this situation.
Yeah, my guess was Knives, but yeah, didn't really seem like necessary dialogue. I don't know.
Yeah, I was also just assuming it was Knives after everything they just witnessed from him.
But it doesn't follow the Knives MO. These people still had their arms.
Their arms were still intact.
It's true.
Clearly, it was not him.
So outside, we see Nicholas giving a blessing to the two that were killed, and he tells the gang that he is an undertaker.
Well, we say blessing, but it was
I use blessing very loosely.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed that scene where he's like reciting a prayer, and then like he forgets how it goes, so he just starts making something up, and he's like, "No, that's not right. But was it this? No, maybe it was that. No, I don't think so." And he just keeps going.
So inside the gas station, we saw a child hiding in a locker or a closet. And during the blessing, the child is out there and watching over it. And Nicholas goes up to this child and says, "Hey, no matter how heavy your cross, you deserve food. You deserve to laugh. I'm just like you. My parents were killed when I was younger." And then he tries to charge Vash and Meryl $20,000 double dollars for his services. And I just loved how, like, he went from being all generous and caring and, "Oh, don't worry, kid. Like, yes, this sucks now, but it'll get better. And, like, you still want to live," to trying to con the two of them out of money.
I love how Roberto is just like, "Yep, that's a con man," and just like completely ignores the request.
So then the ground starts shaking, and everyone's like, "What the hell? Like, what's going on?" And then we see a giant ass worm eat the entire gas station.
Straight out of Dune.
I was getting some Sarlacc pit vibes from it.
Well, the Sarlacc pit's a ripoff of the worm from Dune, so there we go.
I mean, to be fair, everything in Star Wars is a ripoff from something else, but
yeah, that's fair.
It's worked together in a different way.
They do it well.
Yes. Now, to be clear, everyone out there listening, I love Star Wars, so don't throw hate at me.
I love Star Wars, and I thought the Dune movie was boring.
Yeah, that's fine, but the book is one of the greatest pieces of science fiction ever written. So
now, which Dune movie? Are we talking the original one or the more recent one? Because I've not seen either.
the more recent one.
The Star Wars movies are better than the Dune movies, in my opinion. But the Dune book is really, really good.
I've actually never read Dune.
It's not surprising. It's grandpa sci-fi. You know what I mean?
I'm old. I might like it.
Fair.
Yeah, but you hate reading.
I do. I'm not a big reading fan.
Neither am I, though. That's why I'm watching anime and talking about it.
Exactly.
So we find out that the worms can talk to each other. The brighter the glow, the closer they are to a bigger source. And we learn that they are inside the grand worm, the king worm of the worms.
A real worm's worm.
So the four, Nicholas, Roberto, Meryl, and Vash, are talking. They realize they lost the child, and they're trying to figure out how the hell to get out of the worm. And they come to a path with 4 tunnels in it. And I just love how Nicholas is like, okay, Grandpa, you pick drunk, or no, he calls him Drunkle, which I thought was hilarious.
That is really funny.
You pick that, you take that one. Miss Goody Two Shoes, you take that one. Needle Noggin, you take that one, and I'll take the last one. I just loved his nicknames for everybody.
Needle Noggin is a classic. It's in the original, and I love that they brought it back in here, and it just made me smile.
I got a good laugh out of the Needle Noggin.
Those hair's a little less spiky in this one, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, in the original anime, it like sticks straight up. Where
Yeah,
here it's
exactly.
sort of like brushed off to the side and like shaved down. Like they haven't even known each other, so like why did he call him Needle Noggin? I think in the original series, like they have an episode or two like with each other, and Nicholas kind of learns how Vash is, and then he starts calling him Needle Noggin because they don't necessarily agree. Here, he just pulls it out of thin air for no reason. It's like, oh, you're Needle Noggin now.
Yeah, I guess he just noticed this somewhat spiky hair and was like, there you go.
So they all crawl through their respective tunnels. Meryl comes across the child, and they're lying on the floor, the ground, and she's like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Can I help? And then something attacks Meryl, and then we see Nicholas, Roberto, and Vash back outside the tunnels. They're like, okay, well, where the hell did Meryl go? And then we see Nicholas catch a worm and eats it. And then he grabs one and hands it to Vash to eat. And Roberto stops Vash from eating it, saying it was poisoned. And that Roberto is sure that Nicholas is a killer. But Vash disagrees. And he says, and Roberto's like, well, what do you mean? How can you know that he's not a killer? And Vash is like, those eyes. Those eyes are the eyes of a good guy. Which surprises Nicholas.
It surprised me too.
That's just Vash seeing the good in people.
That's what he does.
So Nicholas and Vash are talking, and Roberto's talking, and then out of nowhere, Roberto just disappears.
Wolfwood killed him.
He said he was a murderer.
So Vash and Nicholas are walking in circles trying to figure out how the hell to get out of the worm. And then all of a sudden, the worm sneezes the two of them out.
Gross.
And they land, and the bandits are like, run, run! And they turn around to see the worm charging them. And Vash is like, all right, I'll fight you. I don't care. It's like, Vash, you're clearly not winning this fight, just squaring up, ready to throw blows.
I was just waiting for Vash. He's standing there. I was waiting for him to throw his arms up and be like, eat me!
I mean, he didn't do much different than that.
You like the Men in Black scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for that to unfold, and he just stands there.
And Nicholas calls him crazy for like wanting to get eaten again to try and save Meryl and Roberto. He's like, no, they're my friends. I need to save them. So we're back in the worm, and Vash is walking, and he finds the child, and he's like, oh, you're alive. I'm glad to see you. And like, he's very happy to see the child. And then it turns very somber. He's like, what's that buzzing noise? And we learn that the child is the one who can control all the worms. and that he killed the elderly couple. And they're like, well, every time you see a child with a couple, you just assume that they're a family. So it was an easy way for me to get away with it. The sky of the, well, I guess it's not a sky, it's more of the roof of the worm's mouth starts getting all cloudy, and Vash's feet start getting stuck in the worm's floor. And that was an interesting visual.
Yeah, it was kind of gross.
And then we learn, probably the best part of this episode, that Nicholas's cross is actually a gun. And he asks, "Are you hungry? Then eat this," as he shoots the gun, and the gun does a 360 and slices the worm in half.
Yeah, that's a very iconic weapon, and I'm very happy to see it back. And now it has a laser beam, which is really cool.
Did it not always have a laser beam?
I don't remember it having a laser beam.
I thought it did, but maybe I'm making that up.
Lots of
Either
bullets.
way, though, I like it.
Lots of bullets, and I think it had a rocket launcher in the original. I don't know if it does again here.
The laser.
But no laser beam. This one has a laser beam. I like it.
Yeah, it looked like the way he did it reminded me of like Iron Man in like Iron Man 2 when he spins around just like with the lasers.
Yeah.
Because this dude just like does a whole circle, cuts the worm right in half.
It's amazing. It looked really good visually too.
It was awesome. Laser beams!
Laser beams!
So the child has a worm mask that allows her to fly away, which I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that kid's creepy.
It just came out of nowhere too. It's just like they're just standing there and like, all right, I'm gonna have this like bug cover my face and then fly away. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess you can do that. Why not?
We're back outside. The bandits are very excited about the meal they're about to enjoy because this is a big ass worm. And Vash isn't so sure he deserves to live and eat, but he does it because Meryl believes it so.
I think there's going to be a lot of themes of like self-forgiveness in this show because everywhere Vash goes, like calamity follows. So I think there's a lot of self-forgiveness we're going to see throughout the series.
And I think Vash makes a reference to Wolfwood when they first meet the kid, where Wolfwood's like, you deserve to smile and eat. So Vash kind of throws that back out there that he deserves to smile and eat because that's what Wolfwood said, and that helped to kind of snap him out of his funk a little bit.
So they're eating dinner, and I love how Nicholas calls Vash Needle Noggin again. I just started laughing.
It's so good. Vash is like, what? What'd you call me?
I hope he keeps doing it. So then Meryl, Roberto, and Nicholas start arguing about everything, and Vash yells out and just points at the sky and tells everyone to check the sky out. And Meryl says, "Shut up, the grown-ups are talking," which I thought was like, okay, like, through everything we've seen now for 4 episodes, Vash has never really been like an image, like a child, in my opinion. He's very optimistic and like happy-go-lucky, but he's not really a child. So I thought that was an interesting comment from her.
And they haven't known him that long. He spent the whole car ride with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I also thought it was a very out of place quote.
Like, they've known each other for what, a couple days?
Yeah,
that's it.
I think Meryl is the child, especially in this case, where she's just because Vash isn't partaking in whatever argument they're having. She's trying to pretend that she's, bigger and more important than what she is at this point. And I feel like that's something that a child would say. So I don't know if they're going for like, irony or something, but yeah, it's definitely was kind of weird.
She's the one screaming her head off, and he's the one talking like a normal person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But then everyone stops and realizes how beautiful the sky looks. And then I love how Roberto just ruins it for Meryl and says, those are all worms, right?
That made me laugh.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
So then we see Nicholas on his own, and he's talking to worms. And all of a sudden, the child from earlier is there. And Nicholas says that the child went overboard and almost killed him too. And we learn that this child is named Zazie the Beast.
Ooh.
So Now we have to wonder who Nicholas and Zazie are working for, and how the two of them are working together.
Yeah, I just assume everyone works for Knives.
It's probably a safe assumption. Either working for Knives or trying to get the big bounty on Vash.
Yeah.
We then see the Doctor, Knives, and the little girl, and we learn that the Doctor says Vash can't master his gate because of his morality and his ethics. And Knives is like, well, I guess we'll just have to pry it out of him then. So it makes you wonder, like, okay, well, can you only have a gate if you're a piece of shit person?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't really defined what the gate is. And is this something that, like, who else can do this? Does Knives have a gate or not? And why does he need Vash's gate if he does have his own gate? So I don't know.
No clue. Well, some clue, but
That concludes episode 4. Turtle and Sean, do you want to discuss how this episode might compare to the original, if at all?
There is one episode that jumps to mind that's sort of kind of similar. Nicholas D. Wolfwood obviously is in the original show. He's a pretty major character, so I'm very happy to see him back. And I will say that Zazie the Beast is a character in the original show. I don't want to go into that, so in case it is spoilery towards what's coming up in the future, but Zazie the Beast is in the original show, so it's interesting to see a spin on his character here.
I don't have many comics. I do not remember this character from the original series. It's been a long time.
That's fair. We'll watch the original show once we're done with Stampede, huh? Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Perhaps. Maybe not to discuss, but at least to get the personal enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, on our own times.
Overall, I thought these episodes were decent. I didn't think they were terrible. They were both a little all over the place, but I thought they both had very good moments to them. As we spoke of earlier, I loved the visuals when it came to Knives. Just everything was so brutal, and it did a great job selling why Vash is so afraid of him. I really liked Nicholas and his one-liners, and I absolutely loved how his cross is a gun. But as I said earlier, I really wish they did a better job introducing characters. The fact that we went through all of episode 4 without knowing who Nicholas was, like what his name was driving me crazy when I watched it the first time. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Like, what's his name? Like, I
He
need
introduces himself as the Undertaker. I'd say Mike and I, the wrestling fans here. But seriously, that's all I could think of. And like Corey's like, I'm an Undertaker, and I'm like, the Undertaker's here because they wouldn't tell you his real name.
That's honestly what I thought too. I'm like, okay, I guess later on tonight, the villains will be going one-on-one in a match with the Undertaker. But questions I had at the end of these episodes: what are gates? Who do Nicholas and Zazie work for? And what does Knives want with the plants?
Those are good questions.
Maybe we'll find out in the next episode.
What did you guys think overall of the episodes? Do you guys have any questions for future episodes?
I feel like there's something up with the pacing of the episodes. I wouldn't say I lose interest during the episodes, but I don't know. There's certain times throughout the episodes I find myself just kind of like zoning out a little bit, and I'm like, what's missing here? Like, what's not gripping me for a full episode? And I don't know if it's a pacing issue or maybe because I already know the source material a little bit, so there aren't too many surprises. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's definitely not one of the best anime I've ever seen, but I'm also only 4 episodes in, so I'm hoping they find their footing a little better with me.
I don't think it's in terms of it being the pacing. I don't think it's in the fact that you know the original source material, because I don't know the original source material, and I feel that way as well watching these episodes at times. Like, I don't lose interest and I don't really zone out, but like, I feel like something is missing from getting me really hooked in.
I think we need more world building. I need to be more invested. in like the things that are going on in this world, and I feel like I know nothing about it based on what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I think that's something that the original show did really well. Now, granted, again, they had 26 episodes to do this, but they had a lot of episodes with, Vash being silly and being himself. And that's not something that we're really getting in this show so far, because they're trying to push the plot forward. But yeah, I think the pacing is a little wonky. It's I haven't lost interest or anything, but Mike, to your point, you mentioned like the whole episode 4. You're like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? I, being a big fan of the original show, I knew exactly who he was as soon as I saw the outline of the character, and I was just excited. So like, I totally get where you're coming from, because he doesn't drop his name until the end of the episode. I already knew who he was, but like the new fans are doing the same thing. Like, well, who is this guy? Why should I care? And they finally name drop him at the end. But
yeah, I was
yeah,
hyped to see him in episode 4. I was worried they were going to wait till later to introduce him, and they didn't, and I was very happy about that.
Yeah, Nicholas is one of my favorite characters from the original run, so I'm very happy to have him back, and
for sure
to see what he does in this show. But yeah, I definitely feel like the pacing is kind of up and down. I'm not really sure what it is. I think Sean, like you said, the world building. There's not really a lot of world building here. It's just sort of like we're going, and I think that might help if they pulled the reins back a little bit and sort of explored the characters, talked about the world a little bit more.
Yeah, like here's all we know: people live in a barren wasteland, and they need plants to survive. And if you lose your plant, your town dies, and that's all we know.
Yeah. That's all that they've said so far. So I don't know. Maybe in some future episodes we'll get a little bit more backstory, world building, something. But
and there were spaceships at one point.
Yes, and
that exploded.
They exploded.
That's about it.
And with that, we come to our waifu of the week. Turtle. Who do you pick for your waifu, and why?
I have to go with Nicholas D. Wolfwood. I'll be honest, most of it is from the original show. I was just excited to see him. I really love the character a lot. And like I said, as soon as I saw the silhouette of him walking in the desert, I was like, there he is! Here we go! And, his weapon is super cool, and he now has a laser beam. So I want to see more Wolfwood. That's really all I got this week.
Sean, who did you pick and why?
I picked Vash the Stampede again. I'm trying not to pick Vash every single time we meet up, but he tried really hard and still got the brunt of the blame in episode 3 for what happened, even though it was no real fault of his. Like I said, I like the I like the arc of somewhat like self-forgiveness, and he kind of took the words to heart from Rosa, and he kind of blames himself, because it's not the first time something like this has happened to him, where people around him have suffered, possibly because of his presence, even though he himself didn't do anything wrong. So I'm glad by the end of the episode he was able to move on and past that trauma. So happy to see that Vash is in a good place, or he's getting to a better place mental health wise than he was at the beginning of episode 4.
I'm going to go a little off the wall with this one, just because I don't want to pick Vash every week. I'm going to say Rosa, and it's solely for the fact that she tried to stand up to Knives. It was dumb of her, but she pretty much ran Genora's rock, and she was doing anything she could to protect it. And yes, she was a little cruel to Vash at the end of episode 3, but even that was probably more just emotions running high than anything. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watch Trigun Stampede. We hope you join us next week for episode 10 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 5 and 6 of Trigun Stampede. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. Turtle, do you have anything you would like to plug?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, RPG Treasure Trove, where a friend and I sit down, couch co-op style and play through RPG games. So if you're into that sort of thing, please stop by, like and subscribe if you enjoy what we're doing, and hope you have a good time.
Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, we're between seasons of the Demon Files podcast. We have just actually mapped out the basic outline for season 2. We're really excited to get writing and recording, so please check us out.
The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.